I couldn't tell him no about anything. Those 12 words, whispered through tears by a woman the court only knows as Mia, have jolted hip-hop's flashiest empire into existential freefall. For 3 decades, Sean Diddy Combs perfected the art of celebration, turning Harlem hustle into bad boy records, platinum hits, designer vodka, and a net worth Forbes once pegged at $740 million. He branded excess as ambition, chanting his mantra, "Can't stop, won't stop." Yet behind the velvet ropes, prosecutors now say a darker engine powered the party, a racketeering scheme built on threats, drugs, and sexual acts. If jurors believed them, the 55-year-old man could trade penthouse views for a life sentence. The testimony is raw, the stakes historic, and every new witness peels back another layer of a story that's equal parts tabloid and tragedy. In the next few minutes, we'll trace how the self-proclaimed king of celebration rose, how the warning sirens kept getting louder, and why one insider's scrapbook, overflowing with adoring press clippings, may decide whether his legacy lives on or burns out. Stick around, because the fall of an icon rarely happens in slow motion. The untouchable king of hip-hop. He started as the kid who fetched coffee at Uptown Records, then got fired for dreaming too loud. A year later, that same dreamer, Sean Combs, opened Bad Boy Records in a cramped Manhattan office and sent the notorious B.I.G.'s first single roaring onto New York radio. By 25, he'd flipped one golden ear into an empire, signing R&B chart toppers, remixing Mary J. Blige, and proving Harlem hustle could outshine Wall Street suits. But music was only the first brick. He stitched his swagger into Sean John clothing, parlayed it into a Revolt TV network, then struck a Ciroc vodka deal so rich, Diageo has since paid him nearly $1 billion. By 2019, Forbes tagged his fortune at roughly $740 million, and tabloid whispers dubbed him hip-hop's next billionaire. The public saw white party yachts, endless champagne pops, and a mantra he chanted like prayer: "Can't stop, won't stop." He became the soundtrack to celebration itself. If Diddy showed up, the night was certified. Yet every meteoric rise throws shadows, and long before federal agents kicked in his doors, smaller alarms were already blinking on the dashboard. Keep watching, because the cracks begin sooner than most fans remember. Early warning sirens. The first red flash came just before the millennium, a chaotic December night inside Club New York. Gunshots rang out, Jennifer Lopez ducked for cover, and a 30-year-old Diddy sped away in a Lincoln Navigator. Police found a 9mm in the car. Prosecutors said he waved wads of cash to make evidence disappear. A jury ultimately acquitted him, but one victim, Natanya Rubin, later secured a reported $1.8 million settlement for the bullet fragments lodged in her face. 2 years earlier, Combs had already been arrested for roughing up a music executive during a heated video set dispute, an episode the LA Times noted could have landed him 7 years behind bars. Instead, the case fizzled, and the mogul's legend of invincibility only grew. As Bad Boy's hits climbed the charts, so did a pile of quieter payouts, nightclub brawl lawsuits, photographer scuffles, and whispered NDAs that never reached headlines. Industry insiders murmured about rage rooms and flying champagne bottles, stories impossible to prove but too consistent to ignore. By the mid-2000s, civil complaints describing beatdowns and coerced sex were surfacing from people who crossed paths with Combs as far back as 1995. Many were settled quickly, others stalled until New York's Adult Survivors Act opened a 1-year window in 2024, and 7 fresh lawsuits landed on the mogul's desk overnight. Each case alone looked survivable. Together they sketched a pattern, parties that bled into violence, staffers paid to mop up both candle wax and silence, and a superstar whose temper seemed to scale with his bank balance. And still, the most explosive allegations were yet to come. Cassie and the Freak-Off. It began like a Cinderella remix. A 19-year-old backup model named Cassie Ventura meets a 37-year-old label boss in 2005, signs to Bad Boy a year later, and is soon draped in Armani on red carpets next to hip-hop's most eligible bachelor, but friends say the fairy tale curdled fast. By 2007, Combs had complete control of her calendar, her phone, even her meals, making the word boyfriend feel more like warden. Insiders describe the next decade as a blur of private jet highs and hotel suite hell. Cassie told jurors about hundreds of freak-offs, drug-laced heated moments, marathons in rooms she was too frightened to leave. Witnesses back her up. Stylist Deontay Nash says she once begged, "I don't want to go to the hotel and freak off with him," and that Combs threatened to leak tapes if she disobeyed. Violence, she claims, was never far behind the velvet rope. Split lips in Los Angeles, a skillet of eggs hurled in Miami, even a car bombing outside rapper Kid Cudi's house after a rumored fling. Through it all, staff kept a grim code: destroy the evidence, comfort the victim, and make sure the press never sniffed a scandal. Cassie finally sued in November 2023, accusing Combs of sexual assault and heated moments trafficking. The case settled in 24 hours for a reported $20 million, money she now says she'd return in a heartbeat if it meant real justice. Her decision to testify cracked open a vault of whispers, turning private horrors into public record and shifting the trial's center of gravity away from financial spreadsheets to the raw mechanics of power and fear. And as one juror whispered during a recess, if this is what love looked like, imagine what hate did. Life on the payroll. Mia thought she'd landed a dream gig. Instead, her job description read like a parody of servitude: crack his knuckles, stand beside him 22 hours a day, do his taxes, and anticipate 17,000 whims before he even voiced them. She testified that 5-day stretches without sleep weren't special feats. They were Thursday. Those same lists warned assistants never to drift from Diddy's line of sight and never, under any circumstance, to lock a bedroom door. Privacy, Mia learned, was Puff's privilege, not yours. Then came the so-called hotel nights. Mia hauled baby oil, Astroglide, Glade candles stripped of their labels, and upscale diptychs into luxury suites, set the scene, and waited on call. When the doors finally opened, her first chore was damage control. Pools of candle wax hardened into upholstery, smashed glass, blood smears, towels soaked in oil. Staff even had a code for the recovery period that followed: man down, meaning the couple would sleep off the binge for days. The obedience test never stopped. One night on a video set, a stalled Wi-Fi signal earned Mia a laptop hurled at her head. Back at the mansion, a late-night IHOP run devolved into a bowl of spaghetti splattered across her clothes, followed by an unpaid suspension. Combs sweetened the abuse with perks that felt like traps. He slipped her MDMA from a Louis Vuitton pouch, his roaming medicine cabinet, then welcomed her to a breakfast club of insiders expected to party past dawn. Loyalty was the entry fee, silence the lifetime dues. For Mia and others on the payroll, the paycheck came lashed to fear. Lose his favor and your career evaporates. Speak out and your reputation, or worse, could be destroyed. And as she would soon discover on tropical beaches and canned red carpets, the violence didn't stop at the staff entrance. Next up, when paradise turned into a chase for survival, violence in paradise. Turks and Caicos should have been the definition of luxury. Sugar white sand, a rented villa, every whim handled by staff. Instead, Cassie burst into Mia's room at dawn, gasping, "He's gonna kill me." While Combs hammered on the door outside, the two women barricaded furniture, sprinted out a back entrance, then grabbed paddleboards and paddled halfway to the horizon to escape his rage, only to weigh the storm clouds against the threat waiting on shore. Back in Los Angeles, a Grammy weekend bash at Prince's purple-lit mansion turned into a chase scene. Cassie and Mia, giddy to be dancing on a plexiglass floor over the pool, spotted Combs' bucket hat slicing through the crowd. They bolted into the garden hedges, but he tackled Cassie on the lawn until Prince's security pried him off. The next morning, Mia learned she'd been suspended without pay for disobedience, a reminder that even witnesses paid the price. The glamour couldn't camouflage the outburst overseas either. At the 2012 Cannes Film Festival, during the Brad Pitt premiere of Killing Them Softly, Mia sat beside the couple and watched Combs dig his fingernails so hard into Cassie's forearm she winced through the flashing cameras. To onlookers, it was just another affectionate pose. To insiders, it was a silent warning. Don't move, don't speak, don't ruin the illusion. Each getaway, every red carpet night, carried the same roulette, lavish highs spinning into brutal lows in a blink. And as Mia would soon testify, the worst violence wasn't always public. Behind locked forbidden doors, the danger turned intimate, and in the next moments, her own nightmare began. The alleged sexual assaults. It wasn't the yachts or the all-night boardroom parties that broke Mia. It was a kitchen in the Plaza Hotel during Combs' 40th birthday bash. She says he poured her 2 vodka shots that hit me way too hard, pinned her against a wall, slipped a hand up her dress, and kissed her while assuring her they'd be working closer together. Months later, on Beverly Grove Drive in Los Angeles, she woke beneath the weight of a person on top of me. In the dark, she recognized Combs, felt him hush her, and, frozen by shock, realized he was raping her. The pattern, she testified, soon felt routine. One afternoon, while she packed wardrobe boxes, he walked in, exposed himself, and shoved her face forward until his penis was in my mouth. She described feeling like trash, scared and ashamed, but also convinced any protest could cost her job or her safety. Asked why she never fought back, Mia answered with the line that now echoes through the courtroom. I couldn't tell him no about a sandwich. I couldn't tell him no about anything. She feared beatings, smear campaigns, even death, and believed his power was above the police. Her testimony is no lurid sidebar. It is the spine of the government's racketeering case. Proof. Prosecutors argue that heated moments, violence, and silence were essential gears in Combs' empire. Next, they'll try to show how that machinery ran far beyond Mia's bedroom door, all the way to private jets and synchronized federal raids. Federal heat and the enterprise theory. The turning point came at sunrise on March 25, 2024, when Homeland Security agents swarmed Combs' mansions in Miami and Los Angeles. Inside the mirrored closets and marble bathrooms, they cataloged disassembled AR-15 parts, a Gucci pouch of MDMA, cocaine-dusted baggies, stacks of baby oil bottles, and a loaded .45 tucked inside a guest house suitcase. Evidence prosecutors say proves the party life was really a pipeline of guns, drugs, and coerced heated moments. Those raids fed straight into a RICO indictment, the same federal playbook once used on mob bosses. Instead of gambling ledgers or drug ledgers, prosecutors cite hotel night ledgers. Forced labor, heated moments trafficking, and hush money payouts managed, they argue like a criminal enterprise whose goal was pleasure, profit, and protection. Combs, 55, now faces counts of trafficking by force, transportation for prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy, charges that can lock him up for life. The picture sharpened in court when stylist Deontay Nash, still on Combs' Christmas card list, blurted under oath that he committed crimes for Mr. Combs. He didn't elaborate, but prosecutors linked his admission to a broader pattern: insiders procuring sex partners, scrubbing hotel rooms, and intimidating anyone who talked. Combs' lawyers paint a different canvas. They argue the women were willing participants, pointing to a thick scrapbook Mia kept of glowing headlines about her boss. Proof, they say, of admiration, not exploitation. She loved Mr. Combs and wanted to promote his legacy, attorney Alexander Shapiro told jurors, insisting the government has twisted consensual swingers' nights into trafficking. Yet even Wall Street is hedging its bets. Xerox's parent quietly froze new marketing with him, and legal analysts warned the $35 million Miami estate could be forfeited if a guilty verdict lands. Up next, the defense scrambles to salvage $1 billion brand and unveils that scrapbook in a last-ditch bid to rewrite the narrative. Legacy on the line. The defense's first show-and-tell moment wasn't a document dump. It was a thick scrapbook Mia kept during her 8-year stint, stuffed with glowing headlines, platinum plaques, and red carpet clippings. She loved Mr. Combs and wanted to promote his legacy, attorney Alexander Shapiro told jurors, waving the album like proof that any bedroom encounter had to be consensual. Prosecutors shot back that souvenirs don't erase scars. They reminded the panel that the same woman who pasted magazine covers later testified she slept with her door unlocked because locks were Puff's privilege, not yours. And every glossy article she saved was curated, they argued, under the same threat that kept her silent about assaults and hotel nights. While the jury weighs that contradiction, Combs' business universe is already collapsing. Diageo, once happy to market Ciroc as Ciroc Obama, has severed its 15-year liquor alliance after a year of mutual lawsuits and ugly headlines. Revolt, the media channel he birthed to empower black voices, forced him to unload a controlling stake just 2 months after federal raids. Forbes now pegs his wealth at roughly $400 million, almost half its 2019 high, and financial analysts warn a guilty verdict could let the government scoop up every private jet, publishing royalty, and oceanside mansion he still owns. That erosion isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet, it's cultural capital bleeding out in real time. Party invites have gone quiet, Ciroc billboards vanished overnight, and artists once desperate for a Bad Boy remix now distance themselves on social media. The man who trademarked "Let's Get It" suddenly can't get brands to return his calls, so the scrapbook sits on the evidence table like a relic from another era. Pages of champagne-soaked triumph pressed against allegations of forced labor, assault trafficking logistics, and a RICO statute built for mob bosses. If the jury believes the clippings, Combs can still spin a comeback anthology. If they believe the witnesses, those pages could be museum artifacts from an empire that partied itself into extinction. Conclusion. From uptown intern to Forbes crown tycoon, Sean Diddy Combs spent 30 years selling the soundtrack of celebration. Yet as witnesses peel back the velvet rope, the same empire starts to look less like a party and more like a pressure cooker, fueled prosecutors claim, by coercion, hush money, and violence. Now a single verdict stands between two futures. In one, Combs beats the case, rebuilds his brand, and rewrites the narrative as just another superstar burned by envy and exaggeration. In the other, the RICO statute he once seemed untouchable by locks him away. His mansions auction like museum pieces from a gilded age that partied itself to death. Cassie's freak-off memories, Mia's scrapbook, the raids that found guns and designer drugs, all are jigsaw pieces a jury must fit together. Was it a consensual, if chaotic lifestyle bankrolled by billion-dollar swagger, or a criminal enterprise hiding in plain sight? The answer won't just decide one man's fate, it could force an entire industry to ask where charisma ends and coercion begins. So as the courtroom lights dim and 12 strangers retreat to deliberate, one question lingers louder than any club anthem. When the music stops, what survives, the legend or the truth? If you like the content and the informations, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe to keep updated for the new celebrity news. See you soon, take care.